Hello, welcome to Dundro's podcast. I'm your host, Justin. So today we're reviewing the comic book adaptation TV series The Boys, Season 1, which premiered on July 26, 2019 on Amazon streaming service, right? Which currently has 3 seasons and a spin-off, an anime spin-off at that, which is super weird. So, the show is based off the comic book by Garth, Ennis, and Darrick Robertson, which, because of the popularity of the Boys TV show, Darrick Robertson has been getting a lot of work lately for DC, which I find kind of funny. Yeah, so the show, I don't know who created the show. I do know it's like produced by Seth Rogen, and he has like a cameo in one episode. And like you have a lot of like supernatural actors, sorry, writers working on the show as well, which is probably why they have Jensen Ackles in season 3, right? So, as a comic book reviewer, obviously I gotta talk about my thoughts on the Boys comic book series, which I was a fan of the Boys comic book series, but I stopped reading it because there was a lot of Garth Ennis Ennisism in in that series. Which, if you know what Garth Ennisism is, it's basically Garth Ennis likes to put a lot of dark stuff in a lot of his comic book series, like people being, abusive towards children, um, abusive towards children. He likes to make he likes to push the atheism, the fedora tipping super hard, which he was probably one of the reasons why so many comic book fans back in like the 2000s era were super like left wing, anti God, like fedora tippers, right? The super God hating, like atheists back in the day. Which kind of makes me think, okay, if you hate God so much, you probably at some level believe him. Which I know people who are like atheists, but they're like, no, I think God's real. I just think he's evil, right? Because of like the kids dying of cancer and whatnot. Even though kids dying of cancer, probably, let's be real, is probably because of all the fucking chemicals and shit, and all the airwaves, all the radiation that's going around through like internet and like telephones and shit. But we're so, it's like the thing from like it's like Henry Rollins' rant in like in Johnny Mnemonic. You want to know what causes the techno plague? It's all this shit, man. It's all this shit. But we're so addicted to it, we don't know how to live without it. It's probably it's there's probably some truth to the whole 5G conspiracy shit, right? But we're not here to talk about that. But yeah, like so the premise of The Boys is that you have like which The Boys stars Karl Urban, Jack Quaid, Erin Moriarty, and Anthony Starr as the Homelander, right? So the show is basically about, in this world, a pharmaceutical company created superheroes, right? And the superheroes, and they turn superheroes into like a money making machine, and the superheroes are super corrupt. They're sexual degenerates. They're drug addicts. They have no problems, like not only just killing people in general, like criminals and whatnot, but also killing people just to protect their self-image, right? So like what ends up happening is you have the Huey Campbell, who's played by Jack Quaid, which the original character was based off Simon Pegg and was from the UK. They made him American, right? Which Simon Pegg actually is in the first season of The Boys as Huey Campbell's father, right? So, like, yeah, Huey Campbell is like this not incel guy, the geeky guy, who was dating this girl named Robin, who accidentally gets killed by A-Train, right? One of the superheroes in the Seven, which is this world's version of the Justice League. Which, if you read the comics, they have parodies of not just DC superhero teams like Justice League and Teen Titans, but they also have the Avengers and the X-Men, which the X-Men are called the G-Men. The Avengers are called the Payback. You have like Teenage Kicks is like, you know, Teen Titans, and obviously the Seven is obviously supposed to be Justice League, right? Which, as a DC fan, I kind of find it funny that, like, oh, he made the Justice League the most popular team in his, like, you know, parody universe, right? I kind of find that, you know, somewhat funny. But, you know, by today's standards, if the Boys was written today, it would probably be the Avengers that are the most popular superheroes. Even though we know the Justice League would wipe the fucking floor out of the Avengers. Let's be real. Oh, I'm just saying. So yeah, what ends up happening is Huey Campbell lost his girlfriend to this superhero called A-Train, right? And he's absolutely crushed because, you know, he used to be a fan of these superheroes, and like one of them like kills his girlfriend by accident, of course. And he's like, and you know, they won't even apologize for it. They just throw money in his face, right? And he gets angry and self-destructive. Gets approached by Billy Butcher, right? Who tells him he's a Fed, but really that's a lie. Who's part of this group called the Boys, who are like kind of like vigilantes that go around blackmailing, digging up dirt on superheroes, blackmailing them, and kind of punishing them, right? They're kind of like this vigilante group that tries to keep the the soups in line, right? And members of the team is Billy Butcher, who's this like badass English guy, who has a grudge against Homelander, right? For who he thinks is responsible for killing his wife, right? Which in the comics, Homelander knocked up his wife and the baby killed his wife, right? And yeah, so like he wants to get revenge on Homelander for that. Which in the comics, he definitely did kill his wife, right? Which in the show, I'm not gonna spoil, but they make a lot of changes to the show, right? You have Frenchie, who is this French rapper enthusiast, who constantly calls Huey petite, even though like he's like the smallest guy in the group. Which in the comics it was the opposite. Huey was the small one, and like everybody else was like taller than Huey, except for maybe like the female, which is this Japanese lady, right? Who here was being experimented by the Volt. They're like not Volt. The superheroes trying to create supervillains, which in the comic books there were supervillains. Here they just introduced them, right? Other members is NM, Mother's Milk, who's an African American gentleman who's like shock. I think he's like a shock caller or something. I don't know. Like he kind of helps like juvenile delinquents, right? He worked at some kind of facility, right? Which in the comics he also had superpowers, right? Or like he was this super strong, right? Yeah, that's the problem with the comic and this show. In the comics, they had like they would take compound fee to like make themselves as strong and as durable as the superheroes, but because they weren't taking it at birth like the superheroes, they don't have superpowers. They just have the standard like enhanced strength and durability, right? Yeah, so the show is basically a dark parody of superhero comics, and it's kind of like trying to do like the ultimate comics style of like let's like what would what superheroes would be like if they actually existed, right? And they would be corrupt as fuck. Let's be real, right? So like yeah, the show is like a dark comedy at times. There's lots of sex and nudity, right? Very graphic sex. There was like almost like the first couple episodes. There was like they had like a gay sex scene in almost every episode, like in the beginning, right? And then they stopped, which was like holy crap, man. There's like a scene where like they black Elisabeth Shue, who's on the show, who plays the boss of the superheroes, blackmails the senator by tricking him into having sex with this shape-shifting superhero called Doppelganger, who seduced the senator as a hot woman, blindfolds him, and while they're having sex, he turns into his real self, which is this fat dude. And the guy's like, while blindfolded, it's like, huh, that feels different. It's just like, no shit, you have a fat ass on your dick, my god. How did you not feel how did you, like, fuck, man, how did you not, like, that's the thing where it's like, hey, a smooth-skinned woman compared to a fat, hairy guy, you would know, hey, there's something going on here, right? Yeah, so that's kind of a problem. So there's like scenes here and there where, okay, that doesn't make sense, right? But yeah, the main drama of the show is the Billy Butcher wants revenge on Homelander, and you don't know how far he's willing to go to get his revenge. Meaning, will he sacrifice his friends along the way? And you also have this relationship between Huey Campbell and this new superhero called Starlight, who's young and impressionable and like is gets who always wanted to be a superhero since she was young, but is mortified to realize how fucked up things are, right? Another problem I have with the show is that you have like this one superhero called Queen Maeve, who's like the Wonder Woman of the show, and I kind of did not like how they changed her character from the comics. Like, what's with parodies of Wonder Woman where, okay, we gotta make her a lesbian, right? It's like, Jesus Christ, can you not be more original? Like, the fucking, like, the fucking Invincible had a lesbian Wonder Woman. Like, it's been done before, right? And she wasn't even a lesbian in the comics. She was kind of a easy woman, let's say the least. And they race swapped. They race swapped both A-Train and the Deep, which the Deep they make fun of a lot in the show. In the comics, he was just this like stoic African American who was more interested in the business side, right? Here they make the Deep like they just constantly shit on him, man. And like he's kind of like he's one of those characters where like, oh, he's kind of an asshole, right? But they make you somewhat sympathetic for him. He gets fucking raped by a lesbian woman who finger bangs his gills while she finger banged herself, right? And like, wow, man. And he kind of had it coming, but yeah, there's also scenes where he tries to save like ocean life, and he ends up killing them by accident. And it's like, god damn, man, they really fucked with the deep. Yeah, but like overall, I think the show is good. I binge watched it over 2 days, right? But yeah, I did not like a lot of the changes they made, but I do like the boys. I think they have a cool dynamic. Not a huge fan of Jack Quaid as an actor. I think he fucking sucks, and he has a very punchable face, right? I do not like it. He just has this like smug, like male feminist kind of thing going on, and it's just like I really hate this fucking actor. He was the reason why I didn't watch the show for so long, but like Anthony Starr's Homelander and Karl Urban's Billy Butcher makes the show worth it, right? But yeah, I was not a fan of a lot of the changes they made. But like, yeah, I think the show, if you're somebody who's kind of burnt out on cape shit and you want something new, I think The Boys is worth watching. But if you don't get bothered by dark subject material, and you're not bothered by fedora tipping, like pushing of the atheism, anti-Christian shit, then go read the comics. The comics are superior, right? Though they are a bit slower, right? Like the whole thing with like Mallory, who they gender swapped Mallory. I didn't even know that about the character, and I read like the first 5 volumes or whatever of the Boys comic book, right? It was like a thing where like, oh, she's out of the game because like there was a mission that went bad and her grandchildren got killed by Lamplighter, who's played by Shawn Ashmore, the guy who played Iceman. They probably should have got Pyro's actor from like the X-Men, but whatever, right? So if I were to give the show a rating, it's a 7 out of 10. It's a good show, but it has its problems, and I hear like season 2 they pushed a lot of fucking like they pushed a lot of like anti-right wing shit. They pushing a lot of division politics, right? In the second season, right? And what they fucking ruined the Black Noir character. He was so cool, and they just made him this whiny guy in like the 3rd season, apparently. Which, oh man, they fucking ruined Black Noir's twist in the comics. So that's it for this review, guys. Sorry the video so long. Peace.